In this demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern for sewing, how to cut it out, and how to cut your fabric or felt for sewing. Okay, to do this, you'll need a piece of paper, and I'll show you the actual size you'll be using. You'll need a sharpie, a pencil, some scissors, the fabric that you're using. Okay, and I've used felt, and potentially you'll need needles, and these aren't ones with openings on the ends. These are just to pin things down. Okay, before I get started showing you how to make a pattern, I just want to show you an example of a stuffed animal that I made. Yeah, this one right here. So this was made all by hand, you can kind of tell, and it's made out of felt, and I have just regular thread and buttons on it. Okay, I'm going to be showing you how to make a pattern like this. Okay, when you make your own stuffed animal, or you're making your own thing that you're sewing, I would make it larger than this. Okay, and when I get to the video where you're stuffing things, I'll explain why. Okay, sometimes when you have smaller things, it's harder to stuff your sculpture. Okay, and I'll demonstrate and show you why when I make that video. Okay, so first off, you want to figure out what you're going to make. For mine, I already cut some stuff out so I don't have to take a ton of time doing all that. I did a little like flower looking thing. Okay, this is the front. Okay, and I've already made a pattern, so this is just another one that's not been cut out, and I've already cut my fabric for it. When you make your own pattern, you're going to be using a regular size paper. So a regular size copy paper. When you make your pattern, it's important that you fill the entire page. So when you're drawing, let me just move some stuff out of the way. Say you wanted to do a flower too, and you have this giant paper. This is what I don't want to see. This is a nice, well, I don't know if it's nice, but this is an okay drawing of a flower. When you're making this into a sculpture, into a stuffed animal, these little pieces, little petals, are going to be very hard to cut out and to stuff. So if you're going to make a flower, again, let me just erase this really quick. You want to use this entire page. This will make it a lot easier for you. If you don't do that, you're going to struggle, and I've seen students do that before, where they made things harder for themselves because they made things so small. And this can be applied to, you know, anything you do in art. So if I'm making a flower, maybe my whole center part is this big, and then the petals are like that. So I'm using most of this page. Long story short, when you make your own pattern, use the entire page. Don't use a little tiny section of it. Okay? So I worked on a paper that was like this size just so I didn't have to use as much material and that it won't take me as long to demonstrate. But this is one that I've drawn up already. Make that darker for you so you can see. And this is one that I've cut out already. What you're going to do first, after you've drawn everything and it's what you like, okay, is you're going to cut out the part that is not the pattern. So all of this back here I don't need. Okay, so you're going to cut all that off. Basically cut on the line that's the like the farthest outside the drawing. It's also important to remember if you have a back side. If you're making like a person like I did right here, I have a front and then a back. So if you have a different back side than your front, you're going to have to make two patterns. Okay, so there, I cut it out. I don't need this piece, so this is just going to go in the trash. Okay, I'm just going to show you real quick what you could do if you're making a backside and you're worried that the shapes aren't going to be the same. If you have one already made, you can cut it out like I did. Take another sheet of paper and trace around it. This will make sure that both sides are the same size. I would also label your pieces, so if you get confused on what's the front and what's the back, I would label all the pieces front that are on the front, and the pieces that are on the back I would label back. So this is the front. Okay, maybe this is my back piece and I want to put, I don't know, a plus sign on the back. You would cut this piece out as well. Okay, after you have your pattern cut out, okay, and that doesn't include all the little pieces, you're going to take the fabric or felt that you're going to use, and you're going to trace around your pattern with a Sharpie. Pencil will not show up on fabric. Pen might, but it's just easier to use a marker like a Sharpie because it'll seep through the fabric. So there's my front piece. Okay, you're gonna need to do, like for me, I wasn't gonna do anything on the back, so I just have one pattern, so I did two of those big flower pieces, one for the front, one for the back. If you have a different front and back, you might have to trace with your back piece, your back pattern. Okay. After you have traced it, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut out the fabric. I would cut inside of the lines you drew with the Sharpie. This will just make sure that you don't see those Sharpie marks whenever you're sewing. I'm going to use my fabric scissors. Some scissors do not cut fabric very well, so you just have to be patient. And if you have curves, it takes longer than just straight pieces. Okay, so there is my piece. You can check and see if it fits with your pattern if you really want. It's got to mostly fit. Okay, and you'll do this one for the front and one for the back. Okay, so there'll be 2 of these. If you have things in the inside, which I hope you do, like me, I had this like smaller petal part on the inside, you're going to have to cut those out and trace. So here's one I did before. What I did was I cut around that line, this line right here, and then I traced it out on another color of fabric. So here's like a lighter green, and I cut this centerpiece out. These little petal things did not work out very well, so I would be careful about small details. Okay, after I did this piece, I finally cut out the circle, and then I traced and cut that out as well. Okay, I would make sure you have every piece of fabric cut out before you do any sewing. Okay, so in total I have 4 pieces of different pieces of felt or fabric. Okay, you might have more than that. You might have the same amount. It just depends on what you're making. Okay, if you have parts that have a little bit of sharpie on it, like my guy, you can see right here on this seam, and a little bit on different parts of him, like right here on his pocket. You can see these dark marks from the Sharpie. What I would do before you sew anything is cut that dark part off so you don't see it, because I don't think it looks very good. Okay, you can really see it on some parts, and I just didn't want that. So if you don't want it, I would cut it off. Okay, so in this video I showed you how to make a pattern. And your pattern will be on a big sheet of paper, and you will use the whole paper. Then I showed you how to trace it onto felt or fabric and cut it out. I hope you have success when you are making your own pattern.